Woo! Bright sunlight shows your age, but no worries. It's a gorgeous day, so I thought maybe since I'm up here in the tree stand reading anyway, that I would read aloud. Hopefully, wherever you are in the world, it's sunshiny, lovely. This hat pushes my brows down, and I'm trying to, you know, get it together. That pensive face gives you wrinkles. We don't need that. So, and here he comes on the four-wheeler. Give us a moment. Wave hi to Daddy. I totally asked him. I was like, where are you going to be on that thing? Because I'm going to go online and read from the tree stand. But it's probably not too loud anyway. So I'll just light a cigarette and wait. Hi, ma chérie. I'm just going to do a little reading out here in the garden from a book called Wells of Abundance by Evie Ingraham, explaining the 7 planes of supply and the law of increase. It's just one of those, it's super short. Hi, Jess. So I figured even if I don't finish it, I'm definitely not going to finish it all today. By short, I mean this book is only, let's see, 81 pages, and that's considering that some pages are nearly empty. So I imagine, like, I read through it myself in, an hour, but to read it aloud, it'd probably be 3 different sessions around an hour each to read it aloud. Yeah, 7, like alchemy, like education. It's all connected, it's all one big thing, and we're all just putting all those little pieces together to get to the bottom of the real truth, the real story. So, without further ado, let's begin, shall we? Wells of Abundance by Evie Ingraham. Chapter 1 is the first plane of supply, the law of absorption. And this is what I mean by that, like, there's not a lot of pages in this book that are actually full. I picked up this copy for $3 at the used bookstore downtown. And when I'm done with it and I've read it again, I've read it twice, but I'm going to read it again because I like to remind myself a lot of some of this kind of thinking when I'm struggling and I need positive reinforcement. So these are the kind of books that, like, I might read it and then I'll just give it to somebody. And then I might need to think about it again in 2 or 3 years. And yes, I'll go looking for another copy. To date, I'll bet that I have given away at least 10 copies of Shouts of Nothingness, Zen Speaks. It's one of my favorite books. I don't know if it's currently in print or not, but you can probably pick up a copy of it someplace. It's cartoonified versions of Zen wisdom, and it's really fun. So, this page, there are proverbs and stuff on this side of the page, so I'm going to read those to you before we begin. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. The destruction of the poor is their poverty. That's Proverbs 10:15. And he said unto them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. St. Luke 12:15. Peace be within thy walls, and prosperity within thy palaces. Psalms 122:7. And thus shall ye say to him that liveth in prosperity, Peace be both to thee, and peace be to thine house, and peace be unto all that thou hast. 1 Samuel 25:6. In the day of prosperity be joyful, but in the day of adversity consider God also hath set the one over against the other, to the end that man should find nothing after him. Ecclesiastes 7:14. When thou hast eaten and art full, then thou shalt bless the Lord thy God for the good land which he hath given thee. Beware that thou forget not the Lord thy God, in not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. Deuteronomy 8:10. First plane of supply, the law of absorption. Hi PJ, Emo, and Kimba, great to see you today. Enjoy the view. At the root of most human difficulty lies the eternal problem of supply in some of its phases. In fact, supply must include that which supports every phase of man's nature, and every difficulty involves some lack of proper support. The ancients called all imperfection a matter of undernourishment. To thoroughly understand the question of supply would, therefore, enable us to understand the whole problem of successful living. There is a logic to be followed in the matter of supply. Order is heaven's first law, and we must learn to take first things first. If we approach supply in the order of its most vital importance, the following sequences will not be difficult. At the beginning, it should be noticed that the more necessary any element is to the sustaining of life, the more there is of it, the easier it is to contact, and the more impossible it is for anyone to separate you from it or charge you anything for it. Take the following elements and consider how relatively important they are in sustaining life, and how they are increasingly available as they increase in importance. Shelter, clothing, food, water, air, consciousness, hope, aspiration, and finally that mysterious something which is the very essence of life itself. That which increases hope and the realization of more abundant life would be the most essential element of supply. Faith, prayer, meditation, communion with the presence and power of God would be the most effective means of appropriating this inner supply. What would any outward attainment matter without beauty, music, fragrant odors, and the fineness of the sense of touch? Supply for this phase of our being is free and feeds the inner nature, but we must take the time to enjoy this food for our soul. The fact is that most of the supply that we work for only feeds 2% of our nature. That which feeds the other 98% is free for the effort involved in receiving. If this 98% of our nature were habitually fed, the matter of taking care of the other 2% would be simple and easy. I'm going to try to say this correctly. Is it Culti Blue or Blau? I don't know. Shout out and welcome to the chat. Hello, Lucy. Yeah, it sounds about right, doesn't it? And doesn't it sound like if we had been trained to be more spiritual beings from the start, we may not have gotten to this phase of our society. Hi, AI Clips. Welcome to my chat. This Where to Party At, we're reading about wells of abundance. Let us continue now that the four-wheeler has passed. Okay, the other 2% would be simple and easy. Let us therefore try to consider supply in its broadest and fullest sense. Let us also be diligent in applying ourselves to every phase of supply, in order that we may be most fully provided with all things needful. If we can feed some of the inner hungers first, we may find it a more simple matter to feed the remaining outer hungers. Life is sevenfold and supply functions on 7 planes. In other words, there are 7 degrees or ways in which supply moves, or we might say there are 7 ways in which we may approach the matter of supply. The simplest form of supply is absorption. In this field, an organism merely absorbs from its immediate surroundings all of the elements necessary to its maintenance and growth. This method of obtaining supply belongs primarily to the vegetable kingdom. From seed to fruit, a plant absorbs moisture, the elements of the earth, air, and sun. The vegetable toils not, nor does it spin. It only receives. But when human beings descend to this plane, they vegetate, or retrograde. Man belongs on a plane much higher than the vegetable. He must learn to live upon his plane as if he is to flourish as a human being. Humans who try to live on this plane think the world owes them a living. They become leeches and parasites, expecting supply to be furnished by those who are more industrious. They are the beggars who have lost their station in life by expecting support without giving an equivalent in return. The law, give and it shall be given unto you, works with precision. Where there is no voluntary giving for what is received, something is taken from you. The voluntary offering plan in the religious field has pauperized millions of people. It has not been made clear that voluntary giving is a plan for individual development. It is a way of preserving the sense of balance between man and his surroundings. Not understanding this phase of the plan, too many people have imagined that spiritual service is free and that they need only receive. Spiritual and often physical and material bankruptcy has been the result. Every sincere student should read Emerson's essay on compensation. Jesus did not teach that salvation is free. He told the rich young man that it would require of him everything he had. Give and it shall be given unto you, is his own statement of the law involved. Let everyone who receives instruction or help from any spiritual avenue take due note of this law, and he will doubtless find the reason for his lack of progress. If you can afford to go to picture shows for your own sake and well-being, you can afford to sacrifice the show, if necessary, to give to the one who serves you spiritually. If you have no material means to give, at least make a note of the date when service was rendered. Place opposite the amount you honestly feel the service is worth. Then ask God to make it possible for you to give this amount. Pray daily for the way to be opened, that you may give as you have received. Keep it up until the way is opened, or until you have a deep conviction that God has in some way answered your prayer and made up to the individual or organization the equivalent of the spiritual service you have received. The foregoing is not suggested with the idea of increasing the income of spiritual workers, but to help the student attain to a basis of more certain spiritual as well as material progress. With what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. Nothing is of value to you except on the basis of value placed by yourself. It cannot truly be yours until you have given value in return for value received. Begin giving blessings, words of gratitude, prayers of abundance, gifts prepared by your own hands, or any other thing of value that occurs to you. Give to those who serve you in any way and in every way that you can devise. Then see if the blessings you have been seeking are not released to you. You are a part of the entire universe. You are created in the image and likeness to God, who is all. Therefore, every law of supply applies to you in the same way. The law of absorption, or receiving, does enter into the process of your supply. However, you are primarily a spiritual being, and you receive upon a spiritual plane first, at least. Learn to receive the very essence of all things that surround you. Absorb the very presence of life, love, wisdom, power, and substance, just as you might absorb the light of the sun or the warmth of the air. Wherever you go, absorb everything that is pleasing to your soul: beauty, music, the odor of flowers. Learn to drink in everything around you that you can enjoy and appreciate. This is all vital and essential supply. It all feeds your inner nature. When inwardly fed, the outer supply will become more simple. By prayer, breathe in the greatness, the grandeur, the nearness of God. By meditation, receive the wisdom, the love, and the power of God. By communion, thought I would read this book aloud. It's very inspiring. It's just a great book. Everyone should have it. Maybe when I have finished reading this one aloud, perhaps I will send it to one of you if you would like. Maybe I'll do a giveaway on my channel. Wouldn't that be fun? And we can pass on books. Yeah, stop to smell the iris of the rose. Is the wind too loud? Because I do have a funky box that I devised for windy days on my phone outside, and I'm able to like clip this doohickey around my little stand here. Or is the wind tolerable? Must be okay. I know the birds must be nice. It sounds good here. Okay, and at the end of every chapter, there's a meditation, and these meditations are really good. This is the meditation for the end of this chapter. Because a created universe exists, that which produced it must have been operative prior to and during its appearance. That same force must be operative in order that creation be sustained. If this were not true, creation would vanish. I am not a product of the world, but of the same operative principle that produced the world. Therefore, that force which sustains the universe sustains me. I am sustained, supported, and supplied by a self-operative process that sustains and supports the entire universal system. God, who is the sum total of all the visible and invisible universe, I am that I am, and beside me there is no other, is both the creator and the created. I am then part of God and actually live, move, and have my being in him. My creator and sustainer is in me, through me, and around me. He is the life of my life, the mind of my mind, and the substance of my flesh. He is my immediate supply, and in him I find the complete support of my entire being. My supply is at hand. It fills me, surrounds me, and is poured out upon me from everywhere. Supply flows to me wherever I am and in whatever I do. My supply is constant and exhaustless, and I am richly endowed with all things in heaven and earth. I receive my invisible and visible supply constantly, and I am increasingly rich within and without. That was all of chapter 1. Chapter 2 is the second plane of supply. Hi Mojo Shop, good to see ya. I've only been going 18 minutes, so why don't we go ahead and go on into chapter 2. And I'll begin with the passages on the facing page. And he that sought God in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of God, and as long as he sought the Lord, God made him to prosper. 2 Chronicles 26:5. That the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ. 1 Peter 1:7. Let them shout for joy and be glad that favor my righteous cause. Yea, let them say continuously, let the Lord be magnified, which hath pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. Psalms 35:27. And they said unto him, ask counsel, we pray thee, of God, that we may know whether our way which we go shall be prosperous. Judges 18:5. Charge them that are rich in this world, and that they be not high-minded, nor trust, hope in uncertain riches, but in the living God, who giveth us richly all things to enjoy. 1 Timothy 6:17. Second plane of supply, the law of force. Before taking up the study of this second plane of supply, you should first make certain that you have sufficiently practiced the preceding one. All future progress in the matter of supply will be strengthened if you are grounded in the first steps. Faithfulness in first things is the secret of progress in any direction. Outer supply is often delayed because fundamental requirements have not been met. When the inner nature is fully supplied, the matter of outer supply will be easily taken care of. Each degree of supply is only the increased momentum or expansion arising from a simple starting point. All that we think, say, or do regarding anything began with a simple idea. It is futile to hope for full knowledge or power in any direction except through a logical procedure from start to finish in the process. Supply begins with the simple idea of receiving, as outlined in our previous lesson. Receiving awakens increased desire and capacity, and we accordingly begin to make greater demands. Man is more than a sponge, therefore, the mere act of receiving does not meet the requirements of his more complex nature. Moving on in the scale of supply, we find the next law to be a matter of force. This second plane of supply, materially considered, belongs to the carnivorous animals. These animals get their supply by forcefully taking it from others. In most cases, they prey upon the lesser beasts themselves. When this law of supply is employed by the human being, he descends to the animal plane and becomes the thief, the robber, the grafter, the racketeer, the extortionist, and the usurer. By force, cunning, deception, or advantage, he preys upon those who have. He is not intelligent enough to use his skill and talents to produce for himself. He devotes all his energy to getting what others have produced. Such men are vultures and beasts of prey in human guise. Descending to a plane beneath the human status exacts its terrific toll, for the law of compensation is exact. Such humans lose their peace of mind, their sense of security, their liberty, and often life itself. They lose their own self-respect and the respect of those about them. One can maintain his standing in the world as a man only if he lives as a man. Man is co-creator with his source, and to find the fullness of life, he must become a producer and not live by what others produce. Man, being a replica of the universe, the image and likeness of God, has something of every plane within him. The application of the various laws must be according to his high estate. He is a spiritual being, and the application of the law of force is on a spiritual and not a physical plane. It may be a new idea to you that force is a law of supply on the spiritual plane. Nevertheless, it is so. The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Matthew 11:12. Force here has no semblance to the forceful measures characteristic of the material or animal world. Human beings too easily surrender to the apparent. A little positive assertion is often all that is necessary to turn the tide of events. Sometimes a more enduring persistence is necessary, but the tide must be turned if we are to rise into the realm of creative men where we belong. Jacob wrestled with the angel all night before he received the blessing. A little wrestling with facts will inevitably break the struggle with appearances. If we do not exert the necessary force in wrestling with the facts, we will have plenty of opportunity to struggle with the apparent. Ordinarily, breathing is a process of simply absorbing or inhaling the air. But if you ever had the wind knocked out of you, that simple process of absorbing the air was not sufficient to meet the situation. You had, in this instance, to fight for the air. Some force had to be exerted. Perhaps at times you have had to fight for your reason in very much the same way. At times you have faced a difficult rule or complex saying. The ordinary process by which the mind absorbs, easily comprehends, does not seem to suffice. A definite assertion of the mind, a forceful effort to drive the mind until it penetrates through to the meaning, seems necessary. The foregoing may serve to somewhat illustrate the manner of force as applied to a man's supply. When you get the financial wind knocked out of you, so to speak, it may be necessary to forcefully drive the mind in the direction of your source. God is our supply, is a recognized fact, but to clearly remember and realize this fact in the face of outer lack is where the test comes in. At such times, a wrestling with the spiritual fact seems essential. If no positive effort is put forth in this direction, you are likely to curl up in the cruel clutches of poverty and defeat. Watch ye, stand fast in the faith, quit you like men, be strong, advised Paul in the way of human progress. Exercising force in the matter of supply is not exercising the will or driving the flesh to get outer results. It is exerting the will to the point of complete reliance upon God as not only the source but the supply itself. Faith is a much greater force than the will. Will is only efficient when used to awaken or conform to faith. Faith is real wealth, for it is a force that produces. Dare to trust, dare to rely, dare to have faith that God is your instant and manifest supply, even when you cannot see it. Faith sees into realms where the eye of the mind and the eyes of the flesh cannot see. If ye have faith, and doubt not, nothing shall be impossible to you. If this statement of the Christ be true, as it undoubtedly is, faith is an irresistible and all-achieving force. By it, man forces himself out into the facts of life, and these facts are omnipotent. Living in faith, one comes to the point of knowing. Knowledge is power. We have so often been reminded. Here again, we have another transcendent force. It keeps one calm in calamity and victorious in seeming defeat. The outcome is seen and known. Therefore, the incidents intervening are of little consequence. Knowing acts like magnetic force in a bar of steel. Its power of attraction is irresistible. It pulls into being that to which it is attached. If you are knowingly convinced of poverty, there is no human power that can prevent poverty from springing into manifestation all around you. If you have a knowing realization that the abundance of God is yours, all the forces of heaven and earth contrive with you until abundance is manifest in everything that concerns you. Learn to reach out into the universe. Absorb all that it naturally radiates toward you. Once the sense of its abundance awakens in you, a great hunger for more will also awaken. Then you will wrestle with the wealth that is there for you until it is visibly manifest in your mind, body, and affairs. The wealth of the universe is yours. Take it. The timid seldom arrive at great fulfillment. The bold, like Paul who dared, and Christ who fearlessly faced reality, know the thrill and realization of the abundance of God. And here's the meditation at the end of chapter 2. I arise and go unto my Father's house where there is enough to spare. I refuse to be drawn into the entangling illusion of appearances. I dare to risk my all to the sustaining power of Him who created me. If I am a created being, the power that created me must be the source of all that I have and am. If source, it must be the life, the substance, and the sustaining power of my whole being. My supply, then, is immediately at hand and instantly available to me. I wrestle with the unalterable fact that God is my supply until I see it, feel it, and know it. Nothing matters to me now but the comprehension, the knowing of this fact. I apply myself to it day by day. I pursue it in all that I say, think, and do. Awake or asleep, my whole being, constantly and intently, pursues the truth until I possess it in the secret depths of my own soul. When I sufficiently know this fact in my own soul, then I shall equally know its manifestation in my outer affairs. God is my supply. The spirit and substance of abundance fills me and surrounds me. It feeds my flesh, revives my mind, restores my soul. It fires me with renewed power and creative ability, and and I am aroused in the might and power of the inner man. Wealth of heaven and earth is mine, and I am rich in the priceless knowledge that all that the Father hath is mine. See what I mean? This is a really good book. I'll give it away after we're done. 30 minutes, let's do another. And since my cigarette mostly disappeared while I was reading, I'm going to light another and perhaps only smoke a few hits of it as well, and then go see what's blooming over there. I don't know what it is. Man, this light is harsh. This is not my angle, but who cares? "'Tis reality. Face it boldly." Okay. Chapter 3, the third plane of supply, and the passages before this chapter are as follows. We are batteries. That's right, Lucy Rose. Absorb, but also supply. Provide neither gold nor silver nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves, for the workman is worthy of his meat. Matthew 10:9-10. If they obey and serve him, they shall spend their days in prosperity and their years in pleasures. Job 36:11. I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. Revelation 3:18. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and his righteousness endureth forever. Psalms 112:1-3. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. Proverbs 10:22. Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor with the hand shall increase. Proverbs 13:11. The third law of supply, the law of work. Third plane of supply, the law of work. The third plane of supply is where it is earned by work. This is where man, who considers himself a mere human being, should logically expect his supply. But to work only for what you can get is but little better than the thief. You have not yet caught up with the law of compensation, but it is still at work in you. Until you reach the place where there is a free giving for what you are receiving, you are never on a secure footing. Your salary is or should be a just balance for the service you give. To advance, you must get ahead of the law and begin to give more than you receive. Sooner or later, you will see the law of balance at work. Your increased supply will inevitably come. Profit and service in righteous balance is what makes this plane pleasingly effective. He profits most who serves best is not a mere axiom, but it is a living truth. Voluntary giving of the best you are capable of voluntary giving of the best you are capable of giving takes the place of exacted toll. Then the returns begin to voluntarily increase. Following this procedure, it finally dawns on you that a sort of mysterious change has taken place. At first, you were always trying to get something. Now, the very thing you were trying to get is seeking you. This new thing also has a way of compounding itself. Not only do you receive more return for your work, but new opportunities for work with still greater returns present themselves. This is one of the most joyous experiences in the path of life. There comes the sense that you are not only making real progress, but that you are in harmony with the law of life. When working men and women realize that work is for the purpose of expressing and developing skill, there will be no drudgery in their labors. When industries operate primarily as schools of skill, problems between capital and labor will vanish. The returns for both will increase and satisfaction will prevail. Each pursuing a motive in which they both agree and profit, they will both attain perfect results. When the motive of both is to get, there can be nothing but turmoil, strife, and ultimate war. When one realizes the entire motive of work is the development and expression of skill, a means of growth and advancement, then the individual has reached the turning point in the matter of supply. Work then loses its strenuousness and becomes a fascinating pursuit. He also discovers that the same degree of joy and eagerness with which he goes forward in this motive is returned in the good that comes back to him. The law gives back in exact ratio and kind that which you express in giving. Once this process is clearly experienced, one becomes as fascinated with his work as in the most intriguing game. Wealth gotten by vanity shall diminish, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. One may find courage in all the possibilities of securing work if they will contemplate a statement of Gladys M. Rayleigh in Collier's for April 30th of 1938, page 6, that, according to occupational experts, there are 25,000 ways to make a living in the United States. This information should be interesting enough to start everyone looking for opportunities for service instead of explaining how and why there is nothing to do. Once abundance is attained, there is a greater need of inward ability than before because both yourself and your money must be sustained. The sleep of a laboring man is sweet whether he eat little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not suffer him to sleep. Ecclesiastes 5:12. Sorry about that. Got a little tongue-tied. Unless strong character is builded in our accumulation of outer wealth, we only get into greater unrest than before. Physical work is only a means of outward expression. It builds muscle, but not character. It is the working of the mind back of the muscle that builds skill. The attitude in work makes character. Motives govern the whole nature of the outer man. Ability is fed from inner sources of supply, and only when we are inwardly fed can we expect the outer nature to be well. Mental and spiritual work are the first tasks of the individual who would express the greatest achieving power in the world. A proper conditioning of the soul is fundamentally important in all undertakings. Outer work can be no more effective than the motives which prompt the performance of tasks, just as the performance of an engine is no better than the fuel used inside it. The kind of inner work that builds up the highest and most vital motives should be the first consideration. We so often make the mistake of tackling the outer aspect of a problem before we have mastered its inner aspect. In supply, we should first work to master the sense of lack by building an inner sense of wealth. This is done by prayer, meditation, and the intelligent use of affirmation. Prayer is not a mere petition addressed to God in the hope that He will give us money or even bread. Of course, it is all right to pray for both money and bread, but it is more important to pray that the spirit of abundance fill your heart and mind. One should pray for the consciousness that all the Father hath is mind. Pray that the bounty of the universe, the wealth of heaven and the earth so fill you that you feel the riches of your true estate as an actual inner possession. Pray that you be so filled with the abundance of God that even outer poverty could not impress you or affect you in the least. Meditation is dwelling upon and quietly analyzing the basic facts of life. Meditation is a sort of inward prayer, that process of mind whereby you accept and digest the facts aroused in prayer. Here you think deeply regarding the fact that the activity of God has created you out of its own substance, that this activity must involve the complete nature of God, that this complete nature of God moves within you now, and that because of this activity, you are constantly sustained spiritually, strengthened physically, and illumined mentally. The activity of God upon you and through you is a vital stream of supply that provides the most essential elements of life. This sense of the universal and inward flow of supply must sooner or later loosen every element of outward supply and move visible abundance to you. Straws show which way the wind blows, and driftwood follows the current of the stream. So does your outer supply flow on the current of inward supply. Affirmation, another phase of spiritual work, is a definite laying hold of an attitude of accepting and appropriating supply that has been uncovered, set into operation by prayer and meditation. Affirmation does not take place of prayer and meditation, but it supplements and coordinates them with the outer world. Give yourself daily to your spiritual work in the matter of supply. Keep the mind first interested in the spiritual sense of supply. Only let the mind turn to include outer supply when the inner realization is strong throughout your entire nature. And here's the meditation for that chapter. Hi, Alchemos! Good to see you. Meditation. Almighty Father, source of all creation, flood me with thy light and life. Pour out your whole spirit and substance upon me and supply me richly with all the fullness of your bounty. Let thy exhaustless wealth enrich my spirit, endow my soul, and fill my mind with the riches of the kingdom. In gratitude, I receive the blessing of the Holy Spirit. In the depths of my being, meditate and ponder the great wealth that I daily and hourly receive from thy rich storehouse. Thy substance fills my whole being, and I am richly blessed with every good and perfect gift coming from the Father of light. All the wealth of the universe is mine. The riches of heaven and earth flow to me, and I am made rich within and without. Shall we continue on to chapter 4? Is anyone interested? I don't know if I could do this whole book today, but 4 would put us halfway through. Let's continue. Nice to see you too, Alchemos. I'm glad you stopped by. This is a good reading. Chapter 4. And we will first read the passages. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Joshua 1:8. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. 3 John 2. That's what it says. I don't really know how to quote this stuff. I'm just doing it. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. Matthew 13:12. My fruit is better than gold, yea, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. Proverbs 8:19. If thou wert pure and upright, surely now he would awake for thee, and make the habitation of thy righteousness prosperous. Job 8:6. Fourth plane of supply, the law of attraction. By this time in our study and practice, we begin to realize that supply is not so much a matter of material form as of spiritual forces. Furthermore, as we avail ourselves of the ever accessible spiritual forces, it is much easier to gain the material forms. This experience may be continued indefinitely, and the more this order of supply is followed, the more readily the outer supply comes. The ultimate, of course, is the discovery of the secret of instant fulfillment. This is the fascinating goal ahead of the faithful. When one really breaks through into the realization of the power of this procedure, a great sense of freedom comes. It is like passing from a stuffy room into the freedom of the great out of doors. Every weight of lack and oppression of poverty falls off, and you clearly sense the presence of divine wealth. Abundance fills and vitalizes the very air you breathe. Instead of forebodings of lack, you are filled with the promise of abundance. When the might and power of the inner man is supplied, the whole aspect of life changes. In this stage of progress in developing inner supply, you find that the things you formerly pursued are now seeking you. A sort of inner magnetic force seems to attract jobs, opportunities, money. This law of attraction is the fourth plane of supply. At this point, to strengthen your knowledge of the process involved, we suggest that you buy a small horseshoe magnet, such as boys play with. Spend some time each day watching needles, pins, and metal objects jump to it until it dawns upon you that a radiant inner force always has power to attract its own kind from the world of form. Now consider your own being in place of the magnet, and your own deep feelings in place of the magnetic force. Here you have the key by which all manner of things are attracted to you. A feeling and conviction of poverty attracts poverty conditions in the world of form. A feeling and conviction of abundance attracts outer abundance. Go on from here now and realize that all of your procedure up to and including this point is only for the purpose of building up the forces of your inner nature until they are so strong that outer evidences of supply begin to move you. Do not spend your time merely hoping and expecting everything to come to you. Be equally willing and ready to go to them. But above all, be continually active in building and maintaining the realization that the abundance of the universe is yours, that it flows to you from every source, and that the law of attraction opens wide every channel of supply. Meditate much along this line of thought. I am filled with the wisdom, love, power, and substance of God, and as an irresistible magnet, I draw to me all that is needful for my most complete expression in life. In following this practice, do not keep one eye open to see if things are coming your way. This dividing your attention only delays the process. Keep everlastingly at work in filling yourself with the ever-present abundance of God, His wisdom, love, power, and substance. You will ultimately notice the change in the attitude of everything and everybody toward you. This course of action has been known to build a successful business and eventually to sell it at a profit. It will accomplish remarkable results for anyone who will faithfully follow it. In taking up this method of spiritual work, one does not cease to work outwardly. In fact, one does more outward work, and that work is the more effective. It is also joyous work, but the motive is completely reversed. You work always to increase your realization of spiritual power and abundance, knowing that all the universe is working with you, guiding your mind, feeding and supplementing your ability and sustaining your flesh. You become actually aware that the Spirit of God works through you to will and to do that which ought to be done by you. What you thus build into your character attracts to you from the world that which exactly conforms to your newly awakened realization. When we begin to see that the foregoing is an accurate explanation of why certain things come to us, we will also understand that we have previously considered rank injustice. We have so often asked why certain people, apparently good, faithful, and sincere workers, are always getting the tough breaks. You see, it is not what we seem to do or be in the outer that counts most. Man looketh on the outward appearance, but God looketh upon the heart. What goes on inside of a man's consciousness is what determines the status of his outer life. To him that hath shall kind and degree according to what you have. What you have is what you are most conscious of in your mind and feeling nature. That is what determines your power of attraction. The purpose of life must take into first consideration the perfecting of man himself, not the accumulation of money and possessions. Only as the man himself grows in wisdom and power can he expect his outer world to grow. The outer must and always will be a product of the inner. One can, therefore, see that the important thing in supply is to build up to the conscious and realization of abundance. Money does not build the consciousness of abundance and security. True, it helps if we are proceeding correctly, but the inner realization of God's infinite abundance will produce a sense of security and money as well. Your world changes as inevitably and under the same law as the expression on your face changes. It is not the smile that makes a joyous heart, but a joyous heart that produces the smile. This same law applies to the condition of your body generally, to your clothes, your home, your business, and your finances as well. With what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. What you radiate determines what your manifest world will be. If you had if you have had any difficulty in demonstrating supply or business, try forgetting the outer manifestations for a time and give yourself to the meditations at the close of this lesson. Devote yourself to them with the single purpose of building a strong realization of the facts indicated. Remember, it is a matter of building up your spirit, of increasing the forces of abundance within yourself. Potential wealth exists as your storehouse of inner powers and capacities. The realization of eternal facts and the consciousness that all of the wealth of the universe is yours comprise your limitless supply. And he that hath the Spirit hath the sign also. Fill your heart, soul, and mind with the treasures of heaven, and then you will have an abundance of this world's wealth. It will come to you as truly as iron fillings are attracted to a magnet. Meditation. All the creative power and intelligence of God fills and surrounds my entire being. This power has created me. Out of its substance, my body and my world have been formed. The presence of God with me and in me sustains, feeds, and nourishes me in soul, in mind, and in flesh. Only the Spirit that created me can sustain me. Therefore, I feast upon the Spirit of God's abundance that is now and eternally poured out upon me from the four corners of the universe. I receive it, accept it, and build it into my consciousness and character. It is my light, my life, and my substance. I am filled with the wisdom, love, power, and substance of God. They feed and nourish my whole being from within. Refreshed in the knowledge and power of God, I am supplied with the original essentials of life. Being filled with the Spirit and radiant in the consciousness of God's rich abundance, I am an irresistible magnet that draws to me all material things needful to my completeness and perfection. All right. The end of chapter 4. See, this is a very quick read. But I think, yeah, that's an hour. I think that's enough reading out loud. Ooh, and I don't like what this does to my eye circles. Look at that. I'll find a better camera angle. So, I'm so glad that you all stopped by today. Let's do a quick shout out. Mr. Elkamos 83, Mojo Shop, Lucy Rose, Capricorny, hello, Dolly. Was here today. Hola. Mo, always nice to see you. Cultus Blue, Blau, I don't know how to say it. I apologize. But hello. Thank you for stopping by. Kimba, nice to see you, and Jess Palmer, and my Cherie and Olani. All right, I hope that you all enjoyed today's reading from Wells of Abundance by E.V. Ingram. If weather permits, I will continue from here or another fun spot in the garden tomorrow or maybe Saturday. Got a lot of stuff going on right now. Still working on my decode, trying to put it together in a decent way that makes sense. And, all the normal personal stuff that a person has. So, we getting it done, but it's going to take a minute. I love you all. Thanks for stopping by, and best wishes, little fishes. See you soon.